Hey guys, this is part two of buying a used dirt bike, and I wanted to just go back and touch on part one video. I missed a little bit more about maintenance. I'm kind of a one-take video person, as you guys know, but anyway, I wanted to stress a little more on the maintenance. Obviously, you want to know the maintenance records before you go see a bike. You want to see if they have them. You want to know the hours, if there's any way to read them. The GYTR tuner can read the hours on these later fuel-injected bikes. And I'm just going to shut this door because it's squeaking. And so if they have service records, receipts, if they cracked open the engine, did any work, if they replaced the chain and sprockets, you want to know all that stuff. I meant to mention more detail on that, but obviously you need to know that stuff. Maintenance is the most crucial. Internal engine stuff, chains, sprockets, tires, brake pads, you name it. But more importantly, the engine. All that other stuff is pretty easy and durable. So you want to know if that engine was broken open by who did the work, their friend, their buddy, were they qualified, a dealer themselves, are they hacks, what did they replace, give me receipts. Now, I tried to buy a bike that wasn't cracked open, wasn't worked on yet. I wanted low enough hours. It's claimed to be under 20 hours on this bike, but I didn't know because I didn't get the tuner and I didn't get the reading. And so tried to borrow one, buy a used one. I just couldn't get a hold of it in time. So I went by my instincts on knowing wear and tear and the stories of the seller. So I just want to touch on that real quick. But leading into, you've picked a bike. Now you're going to go see it because we talked about the other things. You've got all your questions, like I said, answered by phone or picture, like I said, and your list. Remember the list? You got to have that detailed list. You want to bring your list with you because you want to know what's included with the bike. Like I said, all the extras, accessories, whether there's a kickstand, whether there's a stand, like a hydraulic stand or a dirt bike stand that goes underneath it. I didn't get a stand with this thing. You want to know if the manual, the toolkit comes with it, if he has all that stuff in one place. Lots of times it's a good idea to say, hey, put it all on the kitchen table, what comes with it, and take a picture of it, or the living room floor, or the garage floor, whatever, and take a picture of everything that comes with it. Helmet, goggles, what size the helmet is. Take everything you can get if they are willing to get rid of it, if they're getting out of dirt biking or they have some extras, because the more the merrier, obviously, for the price. You can always sell off the items you don't want or give them to a friend or what have you, or have backup. So that's touching base before you go see it. Say this is part two. So now you're going to see the bike. The night before, I always Google it, get the directions, know exactly where you're going, get a map, get your GPS set up. And then also I like to Google Earth in on their house and get the full-on Google Earth pictures of their house. Make sure you're going to a legitimate place, not some destitute warehouse where they're going to rob you. So now it's a little bit about safety. And I did get a little bit, things go through my mind. I was headed over to Miami. And you never know, there's a lot of guns in Florida and a lot of, there's Craigslist incidents where you get robbed. Obviously, you told the guy you're going to give him cash. He knows you're coming with cash. How do you know that it's not a bad guy on the other end of things? And that's why you check everything out in advance. The address, the person, I Googled the person. You can Facebook the person. You can look them up, make sure they match the address, ask a few questions about, this is a young guy who live with his parents. All the stuff to kind of cover your safety issues before you go see the bike. So now that you've got that covered, you've Google Earthed it, you looked at the house you're going to. He kept this bike in his living room, which was good, kept it high and dry. And so when you get there, you want to confirm everything they told you. And then you want to ask the same questions again. And as you walk around the bike and hear and see if you get the same answers. So you always bring your list because you want to know. You don't want to forget anything. Sometimes you get a little anxious when you're there and you may forget questions, or you may, forget to get items. You may forget to ask for the toolkit because they left it in the garage or what have you. You may forget to get the helmet. So you want to have that checklist of all the items that comes with it. And now you want to physically check the tires, physically wiggle the wheels. You want to know if the bearings are tight, so you shift them side to side. If it's up on a stand, it's easier. But you can grab a hold of the frame and the wheel and shift it side to side. Feel if the wheel bearing's tight. You want to shift the front wheel as well. You want to look at the brake pads and see if you got any meat on the brake pads. Down in there. You want to see if the bike's straight, like I mentioned. Fenders line up. This one was a little crooked, so it made me concerned. But I knew, I looked at everything else and I knew it wasn't hit hard, it wasn't bent hard, and I straightened it right out when I got it home by loosening the fork stanchions. But so like I said, you're looking for drips and wet spots too on the motor. You got to get underneath, touch, put your finger down there. I always bring tissues with me so I can wipe them on things to see if I have any oil residue. I bring some tools. I brought a piece of tubing, clear tubing. I brought a aluminum tin, and I brought some white paper. I know this all sounds weird, but what I did is I used the tube and I sucked out some oil. Here's your oil, and I sucked some oil out. I checked the darkness of the oil. It was dark, so I knew he hadn't changed the oil as regularly as he should have, probably. And I sucked some of the oil out and I poured it into the metal tin with the white paper, and I wanted to see the color and what kind of oil looked like. So that's good to do, good to know what's in there. It could have used some more oil changes, but I was taking, I was weighing the risks of a newer bike versus maybe not maintained perfectly and so forth. So, and then you want to just kind of look at the crevices and things and see if you actually physically maintained it. If they didn't wash it when you got there, it means they probably may have slacked on other maintenance items. So things like that, if they weren't taken care of. I mean, we stored it indoors and things like that. But plastics were original and everything was in great shape. It hadn't been hit hard, bent hard. It had a little tear in the grip, not a big deal. A little bend here, not the end of the world, like a dent in the frame like I showed you before. But you're now physically just checking everything. And then of course, you want to see if everything works. You're going to check your levers, your brakes, see how your cables feel, your clutch, how it feels, smooth. And then you want to check your compression by checking the kicker. So you're going to, try turn it over slowly and feel how tight it is. Tells you how tight the motor is, so forth. All these things vary on how old a bike you're going to buy. And like I said, leaks are a big thing, whether it be radiators, oil, what have you. Another thing to check is the sprockets. You want to see if the chain fits tight. I always bring rubber gloves too, and you squeeze the chain onto the sprocket and see if there's any gaps that develop. As you squeeze it on, you're trying to wrap the chain onto the sprocket. You'll notice as you squeeze it, if it starts to buckle and give gaps, and that means that the chain is stretched or the sprocket's worn or both. And you can also look at the teeth. They call it shark toothing, but you can see on the front side of a tooth where the power is delivered, it'll wear more that way because it's being pulled hard, and it'll start to shark tooth and turn into a little ski ramp, and it'll be uneven. It won't be a nice perfect U anymore. It'll be uneven. And that goes for the front one as well. So you need to look in there and check out those teeth. So I saw the teeth, good shape. Chain was a little over loose, but it didn't fit too badly on the sprocket. Tire was worn, like he mentioned. He used it on the road. You always want to put your finger on the shock, and see if you feel oil or moisture. And if you see oil grime collected in the dirt, and that's where I bring the tissues for. Sometimes I'll wipe the tissue up around the seal and see if I get any oil. I'll wipe a tissue right on the bottom of the bike, see if I get any oil. I'll wipe a tissue on the front here where these forks are, see if I'm bleeding any fluids. And so it's nice to have some tissues or rags, something white. I always like the white, tissue or paper towel. It's a good indicator of what's going on. And it shows this person that you're serious and you know what you're doing. And then that's a good negotiating tool to bring the price down. If you find things, he hadn't changed the oil like he should have. I don't know how bad, but again, that's what I used to bring the price down. But it was such a newer model, I wasn't that concerned. But anyway, like I said, checking if things are straight, and if they're, and then look at the receipts, and then again check the title physically to match the frame. VIN number, things like that. Gather all your goodies together, whatever he's selling with the bike, and make the deal. And I brought cash, and that's usually the smoothest way to do things. And I got a comfortable price on this thing. I was very happy with it. After I rode it, I'm even more happy, because you never really know. And of course, I'd like to ride it a few more times, see how things go. And but that's part 2. Hope that helps. Talk to you guys later.